Shalom. I would like to report something very significant that happened over the last few days in Syria. I believe that quite a lot of people don't even know that that particular event took place. And those of you who did hear about that event, I don't think you have the full picture of what is going on there. And I'm talking about the collapse of the ceasefire that was there in Syria, that was brokered by the Russians and the Americans. And it's important that we understand that neither the Syrians nor the Americans or the Russians are really truly coming to the table with clean hands. For the Syrians, this is just a way to somehow take some time to regroup and gather forces and gather their ammunition. And of course, for the humanitarian organizations, this is the best time to help the population, the civilian population that is suffering tremendously under that horrendous attacks from all sides, basically. But the events that I'm talking about are events that took place basically just last Saturday. Last Saturday was just the same Saturday like anyone else. Any other Saturday where there's an artillery battalion of the Syrian army that was sitting on a hill right next to their airport that is called Deir Azur. This is a very strategic airport that Bashar al-Assad is using in order to attack the ISIS stronghold all around. But the problem with that artillery base, not only that, but also air defense base, these two are sitting on a high mountain surrounded by ISIS strongholds. And the only way to get to those soldiers is literally by airdropping supply and ammunition, because there is no way to get there through ground operations. Well, for many months, the coalition airplanes were flying right above that mountain, identifying the Syrian soldiers, knowing that they are on behalf of the Syrian army. And if you're there to attack ISIS, well, these are not your address. And because it happened so many times, that Saturday, none of the Syrian soldiers suspected that any of the coalition, or I would say more American aircraft, will ever behave differently. And then when they saw two F-16s and two A-10 aircrafts approaching them, no one took cover. No one thought that something weird is going on. The usual stuff of going and attacking the strongholds of ISIS. Well, little did they know that at 11 a.m., those American airplanes started bombing them, something that lasted 40 minutes and literally almost left no one there alive. I mean, some were injured, of course, but so many, over 90 Syrian soldiers were killed, including their general, Rami Riyad Hamdan, and also 120 other soldiers were wounded, but there was no way to evacuate them, and so they were somehow airlifted to the nearest Air Force base, and from there were taken to the Syrian military controlled area. What you need to know is that apart from the 90 Syrian soldiers, over 13 Hezbollah terrorists were killed, and most likely were left on the ground there because the Syrian army didn't want to drag with them anyone that might somehow frame them of collaborating with some other forces around. What you also need to know is that more than 20 Iranian soldiers got killed in that bombing, and I would say also 7 Russian commando soldiers were killed as well. Apart from that, several other Palestinian resistance movements had their people there, and 7 of them were killed as well. So if you really think about it, within 40 minutes, the United States attacked the Syrians, the Russians, the Iranians, and also Palestinians who helped all of them. All what I call the Shiite axis. And all of that on the way to attack, so to speak, ISIS. This is exactly why the Russians went directly to the United Nations and saying that America is actually assisting ISIS. What you probably don't know that happened right after that is that ISIS soldiers literally took over those bases right after the evacuation was completed of those wounded soldiers. So in fact, by bombing that base, America have allowed ISIS to expand rather than to shrink. Towards the evening, Russian airplanes started bombing the mountain and the base, and of course, with the hope to kick ISIS out of that area. But it's very interesting how this whole thing raised the question amongst the Russians as well as the Syrians. Is America really fighting ISIS, or what is really going on? Now, behind the scenes, and that's important that you understand, behind the scenes is the horrible feeling that the Americans had when they realized that the Russians were playing with them with this whole ceasefire thing. Basically, what the Russians are trying to do is to create the Shiite axis and to somehow give Bashar al-Assad license to continue ruling Syria and do what he wants to do, which means destroy all of the opposition that he has. This whole civil war of the last 5 years is all about removing Assad from power and his struggle to survive. And here, a American and Russian brokered deal was about to give him license to stay there. And when the Americans realized that the Russians were playing with them and they did all of that, I believe this is not really a mistake. This attack was a deliberate one, and it was a message sent from Washington to Moscow that this deal is not intending to leave Bashar al-Assad in power. However, just yesterday, Bashar al-Assad responded in his, what I call, natural and regular way, and he attacked a UN convoy leading supply and mostly food and medications into the Aleppo, city of Aleppo, which is a city that is completely besieged by the Syrian army. They killed more than 15 different volunteers of UN. And it's interesting, the Security Council of the UN has been regularly condemning Israel for every single thing we do as we protect ourselves. And here we see that, soldiers like in the hundreds are being killed and UN workers are being slaughtered, and no one says a word. The double standard is quite amazing in this whole story. What I want you to know is that the Syrian front line is boiling right now. And as I said before, and I'm going to say it again, you need to keep your eyes on Damascus. Recently, in the last 5-6 days, the organization that's supposed to prohibit the manufacturing of a chemical weapon just discovered that this whole deal that Obama had with the Syrians and the Russians about removing all the chemical weapons from Syria, and that was back about 3-4 years ago, that deal meant nothing because the Syrians continue up until today to manufacture VX, sarin gas, and mustard gas, and I'm talking about in huge numbers, quantities, I mean. What I'm trying to say, the bottom line is, Damascus is sitting on the largest chemical weapons reservoir in the entire Middle East. Damascus continues to manufacture that type of weapon. The world understands that and digs its head in the sand. And when the time comes, and it will come, we know that, the Bible is consistent with that. when Damascus will pose an imminent existential threat on Israel, we will not sit back and do nothing. Israel said before in the UN, and I think that Netanyahu is about to say that again in just probably tomorrow, we will do whatever it takes to defend ourselves. What's interesting in this whole picture, as I normally, explain, is that we are having the Syrian front line dictating that which will eventually cause the fire that will bring Ezekiel 38 and 39 into fulfillment. I'm not sad. I'm not even scared. I'm actually excited. If the prophet Ezekiel and the prophet Isaiah could see those events more than 2,800 years ago, and because obviously God had revealed that to them, knowing the heart of men, knowing the plans of men, knowing how men are so evil, then if they knew that, and if we understand the plans of God and we know what is about to happen, we need to get ready. We need to be more than ever before serious with our walk with the Lord. We need to understand that the time is near. We are called to be about our Father's business in these last days. And as John said, beloved, these are not just the last days. This is the last hour. Keep your eyes open. Keep them on Damascus. And when we see all these things happen, we can only lift up our eyes and see that our redemption indeed is drawing near. So the events in Syria are amazing. A lot of what is happening there is not being told to the Americans or Europeans or the rest of the world. Thank God I have very reliable sources on the ground over there to report what is really going on. And I believe that there's a lot of Arabs that know what's going on there, but they're too embarrassed to even report what really is done to Arabs by Arabs. And so somebody has to say something. I'm happy that I have those sources. I'm happy that I could share that with you. Please continue to pray for the people of Syria that are suffering greatly under both ISIS on one side and the Syrian regime that is just dropping barrels of explosives on civilian population. Pray for the Christians in the Middle East that are being persecuted like never before, and pray that the will of God will be done as in heaven here on earth. Now, we're called as the people of God not only to pray for the people of God and to intercede, but also to share the news and to get ready within our own lives. So, having said all of that, I would like to wish you a great week. Let's keep our eyes open, our ears open, and our very attention should be in what the Bible says, and let the media confirm what you already know from the Bible, and not have the media tell you what is going on. I call the media the Medianites. They don't really report the truth. The Bible is the ultimate truth. We can see that even 2,800 years after, it is still the most accurate source of information for us, even today. And I would never let the media dictate what I think or what I know about the situation, but only to confirm that which I already know. Last few words I would like to say is that Netanyahu is on his way now to speak at the UN and also to meet with Barack Obama for the last time probably. And a lot of people are asking me, how come Netanyahu is for two states, the solution of two states and all of that? And how come he even signed a deal with this administration concerning the arms that America will supply to Israel over the last 10 years? Two things. First of all, two-state solution is just a gimmick. There is no such thing. The Palestinians themselves are against that solution. This is the solution that was offered to them by the UN in 1947, and they said no to, and they've been very consistent about it. The two-state solution is basically Arab state and Jewish state. The Palestinians will tell you, we are not going to agree for a Jewish state. Arab state, yes. Only Arabs should live there, yes. But in Israel, it shouldn't be called Jewish state, and it shouldn't be only Jews. It should be Jews and Arabs. And in our territory, only Arabs. Well, this is a double standard. They would not allow any Jews who already live in the West Bank to stay there, but they would demand us to keep the Arabs that we have in our territory. It's not going to work. It's gimmick. I don't even see it in the scriptures. And for us, it's very interesting. It's much better for us to say yes to a solution like that, knowing that the other side will always say no. So they will obviously be the side that breaks the deal. Regarding the arms deal that Israel signed with the American administration, you just need to understand that Israelis don't really know Donald Trump, and he's a big riddle for everyone. And in fact, for most of what he said so far, he's not going to help other countries. He's actually going to demand countries to pay for anything that America gives. Apart from that, we're not even sure if he's going to win. And plus, this deal starts from 2018, and so much can happen until then. We better sign up now on a deal that we know than leave everything in the air and maybe get nothing from someone who comes later on. This is basically the reason why we did that. Whether it's good or not, time will say. Israel will eventually stand all alone, all by itself. We're already there. And I believe that, quite frankly, God will take care of us. So to all my American friends, I would like to say thank you for helping Israel. But don't worry. Everything is under control. God is doing amazing things, or at least allowing amazing things to happen. And it's all according to his plan. Neither ISIS nor the Russians or the White House will ever cause God not to be in control. So I'm thankful that you were able to listen. More than 158 people are now engaged. But I pray that you're going to share this with thousands of people. The last live that I had reached over 50,000, and the one before over 130,000. And I'm excited that the message can go out and that the truth can be heard and understood by the people of God. God bless you and take care. Shalom.